Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us for another episode of Library Talk and Everything Else. I am your host, DJ JC. Thursday, February 27th today, and Brownsville is celebrating. Brownsville is in party mode. Today, we're going to be looking at various things throughout the valley that are occurring within the next couple of weeks. In Brownsville, we are celebrating Charro Days, or Fiesta de Charros. If you don't want to roll the R's, we could just say Charro Days, which is what I usually do. So there are so many things that are happening in Brownsville this weekend. We're going to talk about that. But we're also going to talk about the history of Charro Days. We're also going to be talking about Hidalgo Fest in Edinburgh. We're going to be talking about the Mercedes Livestock Show. So it's not just Brownsville centric. We're going to talk about local events that are going on in the next couple of weeks. And so we're going to be talking about local festivals and what do those local festivals do for our communities. So let's go to a music break real quick. We're going to play some Spanish music. We're going to play some country. We're going to play everything in between the different genres. So thank you so very much for joining us. Thank you for allowing us to be part of your Thursday morning. We're so excited that you're here. You're listening to Library Talk and Everything Else only on Vaquero Radio, the Valley's student station. Thank you so much, everybody, again for joining us for Library Talk and Everything Else. I'm your host, DJ JC. If you're just joining us after the break, thank you so much for being here. If you are a longtime listener, we truly appreciate all your support. If you're just discovering the show for the first time, hopefully you enjoy what you hear and hopefully you pass on this show to others. They'll enjoy the content. If you are interested in some of the other shows that we've produced and that TRGV Vaquero Radio produces, you can go to the Vaquero Radio YouTube channel and find a list of shows. There are so many wonderful shows that are represented throughout the university. I also want to take an opportunity to thank Student Media for setting us up this morning, as they always do. They do such a wonderful job. And so thank you to Jan and everybody else that has been so helpful in getting this episode going. So you heard a little bit of Vicente Fernandez this morning, and that is to get us started with Charro Days and with the Hidalgo Border Fest that will be happening in a couple of weeks. So we're going to be talking about local, state festivals that go on and how do they affect the community? What do they do for us as individuals within these communities and within society? If you are just listening for the first time, this is a research-based show, so we do look at a research question every week. We try to answer it. We use it as a guide. If we don't answer it, we'll come back in another episode, or we will just kind of keep it in mind for some other time. But what we're going to be talking about today is these different things that are going to be happening in the Valley within the next couple of weeks. And you heard a little bit of Vicente Fernandez, and that is a concert, that is a performer, that is an artist that I honestly regret missing when he came to the Rio Grande Valley to perform. He is an icon of Mexican music, and I honestly had several opportunities, but I missed everyone, and he passed on. May he rest in peace. Wonderful icon for the Mexican people. And you'll probably be hearing a lot of his music within the next couple of weeks. I know in Charro Days and probably in the Hidalgo Border Fest. So I wanted to get started with some Vicente Fernandez for you this morning. So the research question that we're going to be looking at today is, how do local festivals influence community togetherness, economic growth, and cultural identity in small towns? Now, I know some of these towns that we're going to be talking about today are not necessarily small, because I'm going to be looking at San Antonio a little bit later. But, you know, our communities, they're growing, they're expanding. But how do some of these festivals help? How do these festivals bring us together? And so today I'm going to be talking about my own personal experiences. But as you sit there and listen, I want you to think about your own experiences celebrating Charro Days, celebrating the Mercedes Livestock Show. Maybe you raised an animal and you presented it at the fair. Maybe you are raising your kids to look at raising their own animals. You know, maybe you have had some really great experiences with the Hidalgo Border Fest. So hopefully some of the experiences that I talk about today, you can relate to. Hopefully you find them entertaining, interesting. And I just want us to have a great conversation. And we are going to be taking a look at some of these different events that happen. And I'll be giving you some dates. I'll be giving you some information as to what can be, found within their website, and when you actually attend the event, what are some of the things that are going to be happening at these events. So I'm really looking forward to this conversation, and it just kind of worked itself out that today is Thursday and today is the beginning of Charro Days, although there have been a couple of things that have already happened this past week. There have been some celebrations, some dancing, some dances that have already taken place, and today it begins. Today is the BISD, which is the Bronzeville Independent School District's Charro Days Children's Parade, and it starts today at 2:30. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about some of the other parades. We'll talk about some of the other things that are going to be happening, at least with Charro Days, and with some of these other things that are coming down within the next couple of weeks. And then we head to spring break. And I want to mention spring break, and I want to say this because at least for UTRGV, spring break will be the week of the 17th. And I do need to say that if there's anything that you need research related, library related, if there's any way that we can help you, please come by and see us. We know that the semester is going by very quickly. Saturday's already March. By the time we come back from spring break, we have a couple more weeks, and then it's April. And so things begin to wind down pretty quickly. So if there's any way that the staff in Edinburgh can help you out, if there's anything that the staff from Brownsville, Harlingen, please come by and see us, okay? We're here to support your research. We're here to assist you any way that we can. So really, really think about that as we're going into midterms. If there's anything that you need, a place to study, we have study rooms. And so there's a lot of services that the library offers that we can help you with. So you are not alone through this process. Okay. Now, with that, going back to the show, we look at the research question, and it talks about how to do these, celebrations and festivals affect small towns. And again, I know I mentioned this, that it's not necessarily a small town, but towns in general or cities in general. So a couple of the things that we found as part of the research was that the community togetherness, strengthening these social bonds. Oh my goodness, I'm so excited about Charro Days. Strengthening these social bonds, they bring together residents of all ages, backgrounds, and they create an opportunity for us to connect and share experiences. And I'm going to be talking about some of my own experiences, and I talked briefly about that at the beginning, because I had some adventures with the parades, and I had some adventures with the carnivals, and I want to talk about some of those things. But as we kind of go through this show and episode, and again, you're going to be hearing various genres of music because it's a mix. Mercedes Livestock Show, I would think, is going to be playing country music. Hidalgo Border Fest is going to be playing songs from artists from Mexico. So you're going to hear a lot about and as far as the genres go, the economic growth to the communities for this weekend, there's a lot of money that's going to be made. There's going to be money made at the carnival. There's going to be money made at the parades, at the Sombrero Fest, and Hidalgo Fest. Also, there's concerts that go on. The Mercedes Livestock Show, there's also concerts. They bring in different artists. They bring different vendors. So there's a lot of money that comes into your communities within these festivals. And they attract people from all over the place, local vendors, shops, hotels, and this influx of customers, creates higher sales, new business opportunities. And as we're coming back, I know it's been several years, but as we're coming back from COVID, we needed this. We need to go out there. We need to be with our friends, with our families. We need to experience those moments again. So these types of festivals, these types of events allow for that, attracting the tourists. These small towns, sometimes I'm going to be discussing some of the more obscure festivals that happen throughout the United States. I have a list of some of those, and some of them are actually so interesting. I'd be curious to go check those out. And, if I'm curious, maybe somebody else is. So you start seeing these opportunities for hotels, restaurants. So people are affected with these festivals. And sometimes they gain recognition. I know Charro Days is recognized. I know there's information in the National Archives of it. There's books that have been written about it. Historians have written about the history of Charro Days, and we'll talk a little bit more about that as we go through the show. But some of these festivals that I was looking at through the internet, the one from Roswell, New Mexico, about UFOs and aliens, it sounds so interesting. Again, those are things that have already been part of our culture, and people want to celebrate. People want an opportunity and an excuse to celebrate. We talked about that a couple of weeks back where we're looking for any excuse to get together, and we had the Super Bowl a couple of weeks back. Any opportunity and any excuse to get together to party. And one of the more important things is that you start looking at the cultural identity of things. Celebrating these local traditions, they're centered around a unique culture, whether it's at art, agriculture, whether it's history, and some of those historical characteristics of a town, a town such as Hidalgo, a town such as Mercedes and Brownsville, and so you start seeing these celebrations as a way to preserve and showcase those local traditions, those stories. And I have so many stories of older family that have passed on that I still remember their stories about Charro days. And I'll share some of those things a little bit later. Celebrating that, the things that come with it. You're going to see, at least in Brownsville, a lot of arts and crafts focusing on traditional Mexican artisan works and things like that. And it's also this sense of pride, fostering this sense of pride. These festivals, they have a way to reflect what's going on in our community, the history, the accomplishments. And whether you're honoring a culture, whether you're celebrating a culture, or just kind of cultivating this deep pride in what you do, it's all part of what these festivals create and what they do for us. Every year we look forward to Charro Days. Every year we look forward to the Mercedes Livestock Show because our children are competing. Our children are raising animals, are presenting animals. Borderfest in Hidalgo, some major shows that are coming. We look forward to that. And so it's an opportunity also to create this sense of us as a community and that belonging. And we promote our culture through some of these things. People from out of town, people that are visiting, they get caught up in the parades, they get caught up in the Sombrero Fest, they get caught up in the Mercedes Livestock Show. They want to know more about, how to raise animals, and they want to just partake in some of the different festivities and the food. So there's a lot that happens that is not just a celebration of Charro Days. It's not just a celebration of Hidalgo Fest. It's not just a celebration of the Mercedes Livestock Show, but so many other cultural, sociological factors that play into these local events and these local community-based festivals. And so I wanted to look at, first of all, the Mercedes Livestock Show. And I've been to the Mercedes Livestock Show once. I went with my parents years ago, and it's going to be running this year from March 6th through the 16th. And this is from their website. I retrieved this from the official Mercedes Livestock Show website. Since 1940, the city has hosted the Rio Grande Valley Livestock Show, allowing hundreds of youngsters from 4 valley counties to exhibit projects in a competitive atmosphere. The 5-day event also includes a world champion rodeo, a parade, a cover girl contest open to all girls from throughout the valley, and a display of commercial and farm machinery, which is viewed annually by more than 100,000 people. And that's a lot. That does a lot for the community. That does a lot for civic pride. It does a lot for the hotels. It does a lot for the restaurants when you have 100,000 people coming into Mercedes. Mercedes was the site a couple of years ago and is still the site from Mercedes outlets. And so they're going to be doing really good business as well when you have so many people coming by. So some of the things that I found really interesting that the Mercedes Livestock Show does, and some of these I was unfamiliar with, but I think this first one, there are greased pigs scrambles. And so I had to go down a deep dive and see what that is. And according to what I found, it's these races that happen and people are trying to catch these greased pigs. I bet that is so much fun. I bet that's so enjoyable to see. There's going to be petting zoos, a hypnotist show, a presentation of antique farm equipment. There's a carnival, an official PRCA-sponsored rodeo, and they bring in some big names, some local names when it comes to artists, including Gary Hobbs, the Spasmatics. If you've never seen the Spasmatics, they are wonder. I believe they're out of Austin, and they have an 80s show, but it is just crazy wild. It's really engaging. The public is encouraged to sing and to be a part of it. So it's a wonderful show, the Spasmatics, David Lee Garza, and many others. And I was noticing that they are focusing on several country western singers that are going to be part of it. So there is a lot happening. Again, if you are interested in the Mercedes Livestock Show and Rodeo, it is from March 6th through March 16th. And again, this civic pride that we take apart and are a part of, when some of these things happen, we look forward to them all year. You know, if you're raising an animal and you're going to present it, you are investing into that. You are invested into your community. You're investing into this animal, and you want to showcase it for your community. So there's a lot going on with the Mercedes Livestock Show. Again, it is from March 6th through the 16th. So maybe we'll see you out there. Okay, so shifting a little bit to the Hidalgo Border Fest. I have never been part of this. I have never gone out there. It is going to be from March 13th through the 16th. And I know they utilize the Paint Arena for some of their events and the Paint Arena's parking lot for some of these different things. If you are interested, you can go to the Hidalgo Border Fest website. But I wanted to talk a little bit about that festival. And so this is also from their website. Hidalgo Border Fest began in 1976 when the festival celebrated the American bicentennial by commemorating the local border culture, the international setting, and the unique community spirit. Now, this community-wide event is celebrated each year on its first full weekend in March. Hidalgo Border Fest is a 3-day extravaganza staged by the city of Hidalgo. Over the years, Hidalgo Border Fest has transformed into a global event celebrating different country or cultural each year. Entertainment and exhibits from these countries provide greater experiences and education opportunities as the borders are expanded. And Hidalgo Border Fest raises its bar of excellence. In keeping with Hidalgo Border Fest's mission of cultural enrichment, arts, education, heritage preservation, a state-accepted curriculum written by local teachers is provided to students from our local school districts to enhance their experience of the festival during their field trip. So let me continue with this, and then I'll kind of say my thoughts on that. Everyone would have a great time with singing, dancing, arts and crafts, a grand parade, 2 illuminated night parades, kids' activities, food of all kinds, a full carnival, and continuous family fun. All the things that make the Rio Grande Valley such a special place, and the Hidalgo Border Fest is such a memorable experience. Thousands of volunteers, local residents, and international visitors come to the Rio Grande Valley to experience the ultimate celebration of the community. Some of the things that are going to be taking place during Border Fest include parades, Taste of Texas barbecue kickoff, Miss Hidalgo pageant, a carnival, parades, and again, they're bringing in some major players when it comes to performers. Fat Joe, Grupo Pesado, Grupo Costumbre, and so many others. So again, if you're interested in Border Fest, check out their website, Hidalgo Border Fest, and it's going to be happening from March 13th through the 16th. And I wanted to go back to this section about the state-accepted curriculum, because as I was delving into Border Fest a little bit more, and I did not know this, that there are lesson plans that go along with this and coincide with the events that are going on, and they are culturally based. There's history, and they cover a variety of different things for students, not only to enjoy as part of the festival, but to also be looking out for, but looking out to kind of complete their assignments. So it's a wonderful festival. I encourage you, if you've never done it before, I've heard some wonderful things from people that I know about Border Fest. Again, have not personally done it and planning to do it at some point. But if you're interested, it is happening in the city of Hidalgo, March 13th through the 16th. Now, with that said, some of you have your own memories of this. I mean, it's been going on since 1976. And so you bring your memories of Hidalgo Fest. You bring your memories of the Mercedes Livestock Show. and you bring your memories of Charro days, which I'm going to be talking about next. But we are going to go to a music break because there's so many things that I do want to talk about for Charro days. But we're going to mix things up, I said at the beginning, genre style. So we're going to go with a little bit of country. You're listening to Library Talk and everything else only on Vaquero Radio. And thank you so very much. I'm really enjoying this conversation and, again, allowing us to be part of your Thursday morning. So we'll see you in a bit. All right. Thank you. Thank you so much, everybody. A little bit of chicken fried to get you going on this Thursday morning. It is getting close to lunchtime as well, so maybe it fit perfectly. So we're going to talk about Dia de los Charros, or Charro Days, if you don't want to roll the R. And so Charro Days is from February 27th through March 1st of this year. And Charro Days is an annual festival celebrated in Brownsville, Texas in late February. It was first conceived in 1937 by local business leaders. The event commemorates the Mexican heritage of the area on both sides of the Rio Grande Valley and is named in honor of the charro, which is that dashing Mexican gentleman cowboy. Older family members remembers a time where a border bridge would be open and people from both sides of the border could come and go. And that's one of the things that I was talking about earlier, is that some of my family that has passed on, I remember them telling us stories about the borders just being wide open. You can come and go. You can celebrate Charro Days in Matamoros. You can come back and celebrate part of it here. And so it was just an open border. So anybody could come and go and celebrate on both sides. And then at the end of the celebrations, you would close up the borders. And my family remembers that. My family remembers when those borders were wide open. And so we hear these stories, the traditions, and that is, again, what we get from these festivals. We get those experiences, we get those memories. And as the quote stated, and this is from the official Charro Days website, older family remembers some of these things. They remember going to the parade. They remember going to the carnivals. They remember going to the different events. And so some of the events that have happened already, the Baile del Sol, Noche Mexicana. And again, today, I mentioned this earlier, is the Brownsville Independent School District's Children's Parade. And that one is one where students have been practicing for a couple of months now in order to perform. So they perform at every other corner and they dance to a traditional Mexican song, a traditional Mexican dance, and people love it. I have been to this parade. My daughter's performed. I have to give a shout out to my dad, whom I love very much. And I say this because when I performed when I was younger, he followed me the entire route of the parade with a camcorder. And I don't know if you know what a camcorder is, but that's one of those where you put on your shoulder, and he walked the entirety of the parade following me, recording every dance. So, Dad, I love you so much for doing that. Now you would do it with the phone. Now you would just follow recording with the phone. But I remember, and I still remember the dance itself. It was called La Botella. and I could probably still even do the dance. But those are the things that you take from being part of the parades, being part of, this celebration. And again, I'm not trying to make it Brownsville-centric, because you probably have your own memories of the Border Fest or the Mercedes Livestock Show, but I'm sharing some of the experiences that I had here in Brownsville. So I have several experiences with the parade. So when I was younger, again, I danced La Botella, and my father, again, followed me the complete parade route with his camcorder, recording at every station that we stopped at and every corner that we stopped at to dance. And the next time I came on the parade was with the band. I was in band in high school, my freshman and sophomore year, and in middle school as well. And we practice, and we would go out there and perform at the parades. And that's one of the things that a lot of people like, is the drumming from the bands, and you could hear it from a distance, and we all kind of perk up a little bit when we hear these bands passing. So many talented musicians here in the city of Brownsville. And so that's my second experience, is coming down the parade. My my 7th grade, 8th grade, 9th and 10th grade, and then my senior year of high school. This is a story that I wanted to share with you. My senior year of high school, I came out again, but this time I was asked to come out in a float. The thing was that I do wear glasses. I wear glasses, and without my glasses, I cannot see very far. And so I am as if I want to come out in this float, and on this float rather. And the thing is, though, that you're gonna have to dress up as a charro. And so they give me the outfit, the hat, the shirt, and the charro outfit. But I was told by one of the organizers, charros don't wear glasses. So I get on this float in a charro outfit, but without my glasses, so I couldn't tell one thing from another. And I'm standing on this float. People are yelling at me, Joel, Joel, and I am just randomly waving because I can't see who's saying hello to me as I'm on this float. And so, again, a charro does not wear glasses. Well, things have changed. I've seen some charros wearing glasses. But at the time, my senior year of high school, I was told not to wear my glasses. So, again, I couldn't make out who was yelling. I could make out my mom's calling me because I recognized her voice. But other than that, friends told me later, hey, I was saying hi to you, but you didn't say, guys, I couldn't see anything. I was wearing my glasses. So that's my experience with coming out in the parade. And so we all have our own experiences, I'm sure, and your own stories. As sure, if you did come out in the parade for Charro Days or in one of the ones to Hidalgo Fest, I'm sure you have your own stories of maybe, you know, getting tired, or maybe you were thirsty throughout the performance and you had to step aside. So those are one of the things that we take those great memories, and we talked about that as part of the community and the cultural identity of these different things and the memories that we take with that. Uh, I'm sorry, I wanted to share that story with you. So tomorrow is the Illuminated Parade in the evenings, in the evening, excuse me. And that is also one where a lot of people go to because it is so hot in Brownsville at this time of year. So people go to that one because it's less, the temperature's less than what it is during the day. And it's a really nice parade as well. And then Saturday, it culminates with the Grand International Parade. And I want to tell you a story about that one as well. So that is the big parade where you also have some Mexican bands come in, some Mexican celebrities, Mr. Amigo, and representatives from Matamoros across the bridge here. So that's a wonderful parade. The thing about that parade is, though, that it does get really full. And so here is my story. I told you I was going to tell you a bunch of stories today. And thank you for indulging in some of these. But my story about the International Parade on Saturdays is that it begins at 12 with the local Brownsville ROTCs, and they perform and they march, and it's a really wonderful event to see. So they start first, and then the parade begins at 1. And so my mom and I, particularly me, I would go and I was the official chair saver, holder. Yeah, that's what it is. And so I remember my mom would take me to the parade early in the morning. We'd go about 8 o'clock. They don't start setting up the chairs till about 9:30, 10 o'clock. So my mom and I would go to the parade, and we would go to breakfast, and then she'd let me loose to go find chairs. And so it was my responsibility to go get chairs, and I am saving about 17 chairs for nephews and nieces and for family. So I'm by myself there telling people that are coming by asking for space, telling them, no, I'm sorry, these chairs are already paid for. These are reserved. And it was quite an experience by myself, holding at one point 17 chairs. So I smartened up one year and I took tape. I took masking tape and I just put it all over the chairs that I needed, 17 in a row, and put my name and put paid. And I just stay there and hang out for hours on end. I'm talking, parade doesn't start till 12, and I was already out there at 9 o'clock saving chairs. So again, I know I've talked about this. You've heard it before. You probably have your own experiences with these parades. But that was my thing, holding chairs. Again, I was the unofficial or maybe official chair holder saver. And so I was so glad when my family finally arrived to the parade, because I could take a little bit of a break. But Up to that point, I am sitting there in a space of 17 chairs, holding them, guarding them, and people are coming in. Can we borrow this chair? Can we take this chair? Hey, this guy's saving 17 chairs. They're already paid for, but yes, so that's my experience with this Saturday parade. But I highly recommend, if you are in the Valley, if you are in Brownsville, check out some of these different events that are going on. It's particularly the carnival. They're really, really nice. So I wanted to tell you about that. I mean, excuse me, the parade. I'll talk about the carnival next. I'm looking at my notes here because I have some experiences and stories about the carnival as well. But yeah, if you do have an opportunity, go to Sombrero Fest, check out the carnivals, check out the parades. It is really, really fun. So the carnival. Now I have some stories about the carnival as well. The carnival sets itself up starting today, and they'll be here for 2 weeks. And I wanted to talk about the carnival because it was such an experience growing up. It was such an opportunity. We talked about cultural connections and coming together. And so here was the plan. I was in band in ninth and 10th grade. And I remember my ninth and 10th grade coming out in the parade. And this was the setup. And I don't know if it still is, but this was the way we did it back in the day. We'd come out in the parade. We'd go back home, change, and then we'd go to the carnival. And the carnival at the time was held at the Amigoland Mall. And I give you a little context of the Amigoland Mall. Brownsville had 2 malls back in the day. We had Sunrise, which was in the north part of town, and we had the Amigoland Mall, which was literally 5 blocks away from Matamoros, Mexico. And Amigoland Mall was the place to go. Amigoland Mall had the bigger stores. It had the Dillards. It had the JCPenney. And it was the place. So the carnival has always set themselves up in a field out there. And I mean, I'm talking a field, dirt and just, yeah, a field. It set themselves up out there. And that's the carnival that I remember. Is going to that carnival, getting dirty. The wind would pick up, dust all over the place. Nowadays, it's moved on to one of the parking lots out there in that area. Amigoland Mall no longer exists. But the carnival, now sets themselves up in a parking lot. And it's not the same. It isn't the same as it used to be when I was younger. We took my daughters about 2 or 3 years ago. I mean, they're already graduating from high school and they wanted to go back to the carnival. And it was full. I mean, it was full. People still go. But it wasn't the same experience for me as what I had growing up. And I was thinking about this. I was thinking about my parents would give me $25 to go to the carnival. And with those $25, I could put gas in my car. I could get into the carnival. I could go to dinner. I could eat things at the carnival as well. Get on rides and still have money left over when I got home. So times have really changed. I think now the tickets to get into the tickets for the rides, I think you buy a bracelet for $20-something or maybe $30. But I remember back in the day, we could go with $25 and do all those different things. And the carnival it is fun. I mean, I had a friend who was from out of town and they wanted to reminisce and they went to the carnival just to ride one ride. They got on the zipper, one ride, bought a candy apple and left. So we all have our own experiences. We all have our own stories. But one of the things that I was also thinking about was, and I'm going to give a shout out to my cousin Joey here, because my cousin Joey and I went to the carnival my 10th grade year and no cell phones. He and I went with another friend, Adam, and somehow Joey and Adam got lost and we disconnected for a while. We couldn't find each other. And there were no cell phones in 1992. There were no cell phones that we could use to text each other or to call each other to see where we're at. And there are hundreds and hundreds of people there. And I kind of got lost from them, but I was fine because I knew so many people from other schools. I knew some people from Rivera, that I was going to Rivera High School here in Brownsville. And so I'm hanging out with them. And then eventually we met up again. And that's the thing about the cell phones was that you told your friends, I'm going to be there at 7 o'clock at the gate. And you were there at 7 o'clock at the gate because you wanted to hang out with your friends. And again, no cell phone, not one cell phone in sight, no Instagram photos, no pictures, no selfies. It was just us having a good time and enjoying the moment. Enjoying the moment. I'm going to another shout out here to my cousin Mark, because Mark was the popular guy. He was in sports and he used to hang out with the popular guys. And I wanted to be one of those guys. I was in band, so I wasn't very popular. But I wanted to be part of that group. My cousin was hanging out with the basketball players and the football players. And I remember one time we went my freshman year to the carnival. I went with my cousin Mark. And he's with his friends. And I'm kind of getting in with with his friends as well. And they know me and they would go to my house. And I felt really cool because I was one of the popular kids. I really wasn't, but I felt like I was. So we go to the carnival, and I do not like personally any ride that has a continuous motion. So anything that goes round and round, I get very dizzy and I have a hard time with that. But I wanted to be cool. And so my cousin and his friends are going to get on this ride. And I'm like, yes, I'm ready for it. Well, it didn't go well for me. I ended up getting sick. So for as much as I thought I was cool, for as much as I wanted to be part of Mark and his group, I was not cut out for it. So again, we have these experiences, we have these stories, and I will tell you this, and I don't know if it's changed, but you had to go to the carnival. You had to be part of that carnival on Saturday night. If you were not at the carnival on Saturday night, do not bother going to school on Monday. I'm just kidding. No, if you didn't go to the carnival that Saturday night, that's where everybody was at the carnival. Again, I talked about this earlier. Friends from other schools, friends from my school at Rivera. We were all at the carnival Saturday night. And if you were not there, you had nothing to talk about on Monday. You had nothing to discuss. You were not part of the group. We talked about that earlier about community. We formed a community. Everybody that was at the carnival that day was part of a community. So if you didn't go to the carnival Saturday night, you had nothing to discuss Monday morning. Hey, did you get on this ride? Did you get on that ride? Did you see the really big bears that were part of the winning prizes at this game? You had to be part of the carnival in order to engage Monday morning. And I don't know if that's changed. Because when I went to the carnival, a lot of people going back to cell phones are on their phones, taking selfies, standing next to a ride rather than actually getting on the ride. We were enjoying the moment. We were enjoying the time together and the moment. So I wanted to share some of those different stories with you. As we got older, as I got older, Sombrero Fest, became the thing. And so Sombrero Fest, I want to talk about that, starts tonight as well. And that is a Bronzeville original, incorporated in 1985 for the first Sombrero Fest held in 1986. For the purpose of enhancing the spirit of Charro Days, Sombrero Fest is now the largest event in Cameron County, Texas, and benefits multiple nonprofit organizations, which is great that they are helping nonprofit organizations. The festival is held in Washington Park, located at Mitty Cultural District and on the edge of the historic Brownsville downtown region. The festival opens the last Thursday of February each year during the annual Charro Days holiday. We're a family-friendly event catering to multiple generations with food, music, and fun for everybody. We offer kids rides, events, adult events, a wide variety of foods sold by independent vendors, and entertainment for everyone. Whether you're a millennial or from the greatest generation, you'll find something to love about the Sombrero Fest. And there are an estimated 60,000 people that attend yearly. Starts tonight. It has events that go on throughout the day. It has rides. It has various areas for music. There's what they call the big tent that brings in a lot of tribute bands. And then they have the big stage. They bring in some major names, including Grupo Bronco, Grupo Mojado, and twice actually, they brought Tigres del Norte, which is a major Mexican band, major Mexican group. And they actually had to close the gates for when the Tigres del Norte came by because it was so packed. They couldn't accept people anymore. They couldn't allow people coming in. And this is an outdoor venue. It is fenced in, and there are so many people there. But when major groups play, such as Tigres del Norte, they had to close it down. So it is crazy. It's fun. There's a lot of food, a lot of vendors. And I mean, you're talking groups such as La Mafia, Ramon Ayala, Cumbia Kings. Selena actually played at Sombrero Fest in 1993, 2 years before her untimely death. So there is a lot that happens, a lot that's going on, and you have your own stories, possibly with Sombrero Fest as well. I'm going to go to a music break, and then we'll come back and close it off. Thank you so very much. Talking about the Spasmatics as I was mentioning them, we're going to play a little bit of some 80s music. Thank you so much again for joining us. We're getting ready to round up the show, finish it off. And as always, the time goes by so fast when we're together. Thank you so much. You're listening to Library Talk and everything else only on Vaquero Radio, the Valley's student station. I cannot believe how fast the time goes by when we're together. And again, thank you so much for allowing us to be part of your Thursday morning. So the information that I read to you from the different festivals, that is from their official websites. So I wanted to just share that. Again, if I am providing you with information as a researcher, we want to make sure that you are getting credible and reliable information. So what more from the reliability than from the actual website? So one of the, kind of shifting a little bit, one of my favorite parts of the show is where I get a chance to go out there and ask people various questions and their responses. So here is today's question. How will you be celebrating Charro Days? And these are the responses. Taking my daughters to the evening parade on Friday. Volunteering at the Sombrero Fest. Going to all of the parades, and again, they start today. Going to the events sponsored by UTRGV, and they held a wonderful event yesterday, La Charreada, here in Bronzo, and supposedly it was quite a success. So thank you, UTRGV, for hosting that. Going to Sombrero Fest on Saturday. So these are from various people that I asked about what they're going to be doing during Charro Days. And please be careful, be safe. If you are going to be participating in some of these things, I know there's a lot of drinking that takes place, a lot of people that sometimes drink a little too much during some of these events. But yeah, if you are going to be out there, out and about, please be careful. Please stay safe. We are, as I mentioned, going to be having spring break in a couple of weeks. And so please be careful. I know we'll talk about that as we go through the next couple of weeks of our show. But I wanted to mention one last thing, and I'll finish with this. I mentioned that there are so many local festivals throughout the United States, and here are some of the ones that I found that are very interesting. So I talked about this one earlier, the Roswell UFO Festival. So each year in July, UFO enthusiasts gather here in Roswell for a festival where they commemorate the alleged UFO crash in Roswell with alien-themed events, including costume parties, a UFO parade, and lectures on extraterrestrial phenomena. So that is out of Roswell, New Mexico. Here's another one. Twins Day. In August, in Twinsburg, Ohio, where else, an annual gathering of twins and multiples from around the world takes place each year. The festival includes twin contests, a parade, and various twin-related activities. That is in August in Twinsburg, Ohio. This is an interesting one. National Mustard Day. Hosted by the National Mustard Museum in Middleton, Wisconsin, National Mustard Day features mustard samplings, live music, games, prizes, and mustard-covered food, including hot dogs, brats, and even mustard-covered ice cream. And this is held every August. The West Virginia Bigfoot Festival. In July, the West Virginia Bigfoot Festival stomps back into Sutton, West Virginia with vendors, live music, interesting speakers, and even a Bigfoot calling contest. So this is held in July in West Virginia, the West Virginia Bigfoot Festival. And now this one, I know we're getting ready to wrap up, but I did want to take some time to talk about this one because this is such an interesting festival. This is held every October in San Antonio, and this is the Barbacoa and Big Red Festival. Yes, Barbacoa and Big Red. Now, I want to share another story here about Barbacoa and Big Red. My family is not a soda drinker family. that we don't drink sodas. Well, I do. I used to, but my family is not a soda drinking family. Excuse me. I should say that better. But for some odd reason, on Sundays, we would buy barbacoa, and we would always buy Big Red. For some reason, Big Red was always part of our breakfast with barbacoa. And I never understood why. And then as I got older and I started talking to people, they had a shared experience about barbacoa and Big Red. It was a thing. Barbacoa and Big Red. And again, we do not drink sodas in our household when we were younger, especially and particularly Big Red. But for some odd reason, my mom would go to the groceries and go bring back a 2-liter Big Red with some barbacoa. And then all of a sudden, one day I was driving through San Antonio in October and I saw a sign for this festival, the Barbacoa and Big Red Festival. For some odd reason, Big Red and Barbacoa go together. There's going to be live music, food, vendors, of course, barbacoa, and entertainment for the kids. Again, this is held every October. Thank you so very much again for indulging in some of my stories about Charro Days, and hopefully you have some shared experiences as well based on other festivals. Maybe you were raised in Houston, maybe you were raised in West Texas, maybe you were raised in North Texas, and you had your own festivals that you went to, and you have your experiences and your stories that you can go back, tell your kids about, laugh about, and just reminisce. And that's one of the things that these festivals do for us. Thank you so very much. Again, if you are going to be enjoying some of the Charro Days festivities and some of the ones later on up the valley, have a good one. Be safe. Stay safe. Okay? We're going to end with Ramon Ayala y sus Bravos del Norte. I want to wish everybody a wonderful week. We'll see you all next week. Next week, I'm excited about our topic because we're going to be talking about movies, the history of cinema, what movies do for us, how they make us feel, and how, again, we come together to share these experiences when it comes to movies. Have a wonderful week, everybody. Bye.